At breakfast, my dad announced, "We booked a trip to Italy, just the six of us." "You get it," I said, "of course." Later that night, I got a bank alert, $9,200 charged from Rome, Venice, Florence, hotels, tours, meals. I calmly disputed, froze the card, and kept silent. At the airport, my mom messaged, "Why did our boarding pass vanish?" I just replied, "I'm not on the trip." They spent the first 2 nights in Terminal 3. At breakfast, my dad looked up from his eggs and said it like he was announcing a weather update. "We booked a trip to Italy, just the six of us." You get it. No emotion, no build-up. Just that. My mom nodded, my sister smiled, my brother-in-law laughed. I looked at my plate, then at each of them. I said, "Of course." I smiled when I said it. Not sarcastically. Not bitterly. Just enough to make it easy for them to move on. Because I had seen it coming. They'd been whispering about something for weeks, a big surprise for summer. I just didn't think they'd make it this obvious. They didn't even look at me when they said it. My dad had this way of pretending we were all adults making adult decisions. As if I hadn't covered the down payment on their house after his second layoff. As if I hadn't rebuilt my sister's credit when she defaulted on 2 cards. As if I hadn't been the one to float the family business loan last fall. I sat there eating dry toast while they discussed connecting flights and luggage limits. "Florence might be hot, but at least it's not humid," my mom said. "I'm so excited for the food," my sister added. Her husband was already looking up wine tours on his phone. They didn't see me go quiet. They never do. They're used to me nodding, supporting, existing quietly on the perimeter. Reliable. Not intrusive. Necessary, but never central. So I let them talk. I chewed, swallowed, sipped coffee, and nodded when required. That night, back home, I got a bank alert, $9,200 charged across Rome, Venice, Florence, hotels, tours, meals. My card. I stared at the charges. Not because they surprised me, but because they didn't. They had done this before. Quietly added me to bills. Used my information by accident. Told servers to put it all on the family card, meaning mine. I didn't yell. Didn't call. I calmly opened my app, froze the card, and disputed every charge. The bank flagged the transactions as fraudulent. It was done in 5 minutes. Then I turned off my phone, made tea, and watched an old movie until I fell asleep. At the airport, the next morning, my mom messaged, "Why did our boarding pass vanish?" I just replied, "I'm not on the trip." That was it. They spent the first 2 nights in Terminal 3. No hotel. No tour. No wine. Just waiting. Wondering. Blaming the airline. And I imagine, eventually, blaming me. It didn't start with Italy. It never does. These moments, these insults disguised as logistics, these betrayals masked as oversight, they accumulate. Slowly. Strategically. Like sediment. Italy was just the latest sedimentary layer in a cliffside I'd spent years pretending wasn't eroding. That night, after I froze the card and watched their names vanish from my banking app, I couldn't sleep. Not out of guilt. I felt nothing close to guilt. I felt clean. Silent. Like an empty room after the guests have finally left and you can hear yourself breathe again. But then the memories started to press in. I remembered the Christmas Eve they gave my seat to the neighbor. The one who ran the flooring store. "We figured you'd be fine in the kitchen," my mom had said. I'd driven 6 hours for that dinner. They didn't even set a plate. I left, canceled the mortgage assistance I'd set up for them, and shut down the streaming account they all shared. Then came the anniversary. $7,500 I paid for a dinner they turned into a comedy show at my expense. To those who actually matter, my brother toasted. They laughed. I smiled. Walked out. Voided the payment. Let the manager deliver the bill. They were trapped at the restaurant until Uncle Mike finally caved. Every incident alone could be passed off as a mistake, a miscommunication, a moment. But taken together, I pay, they laugh. I show up, they move around me. I help, they delete me. That's not miscommunication. That's strategy. That's architecture. I saw it all clearly now. I wasn't the sun. I was the subscription, the infrastructure, the unspoken financial buffer behind every spontaneous decision, every expensive dinner, every celebratory getaway. My role was fixed, invisible benefactor. Not loved, tolerated. Not seen, used. My sister's wedding? They charged $9,800 to my card without asking. Her bridesmaids laughed when I questioned it. "You don't have a spouse or kids, might as well make yourself useful," she said. Useful. That's what I was to them. A resource. A utility. They saw my achievements not as personal milestones but as communal assets to be leveraged. My bachelorhood wasn't a choice, it was an opening. My silence wasn't peace, it was permission. Even when I tried to give out of love, they turned it into leverage. Like the time I paid for the backyard remodel. My mom called after the fact to say the celebration would be just immediate family. I canceled everything the next day. When she showed up at my door, screaming, I let her scream. Then calmly opened the door. I had already made the decision. I was done being convenient. I used to believe, deeply, foolishly, that they just didn't know better. That if I showed up enough, helped enough, paid enough, they'd finally see me. Not the wounded vet. Not the half-man with the prosthetic. Just their son. Just their brother. But that's not how this works. They didn't forget to invite me. They excluded me on purpose because I was easier to leave out than to value. Because I never made noise. I never broke the rules. I never fought back. Until now. Italy was different because this time, I didn't just see the moment. I saw the pattern. And once you see the pattern, you stop questioning the pain. You stop asking why they keep doing it and start asking what they're getting from it. And what they got for years was everything. Access. Protection. Comfort. They could risk more, spend more, reach further, because I existed. Because I was the fail-safe. And they assumed I'd never pull the plug. They assumed wrong. Because this time, when I sat in the dark after freezing that card, I didn't feel guilt. I felt calculations. Numbers. IP addresses. Contracts. This time, I wasn't the one asking why me. I was the one saying never again. I didn't text them. I didn't call to explain, didn't ask if they understood. That's the beauty of cutting supply lines. You don't need permission. They woke up in Rome with no hotel confirmation, no tour reservations, and no clue why their prepaid itinerary had evaporated. I know this because I watched the refund confirmations roll in like rain through a cracked roof. It started with the boutique hotel in Trastevere, then the rooftop dinner in Florence, then the water taxi service in Venice. Each cancellation, a message, access revoked. I was back in my apartment when the real work began. This time, it wasn't just a freeze or a refund. This time, I dismantled the whole architecture. They didn't know what I'd built, and more importantly, what they were tied to. Step 1. Communications. I logged into the family phone plan. My plan. 5 lines. Mine, theirs, my sister's. I didn't cancel it. Too clean. Instead, I transferred full ownership to them, each with a 72-hour expiration. If they didn't accept, the lines would shut off. No grandfathered unlimited data. No shared cloud. No archived messages. Just static. Step 2. Identity infrastructure. The family password manager? Gone. I changed the master key and locked them out. Every saved login, from airline miles to utility portals, was now inaccessible. That meant no more, "Can you just reset it for us?" texts. That meant digital silence. Step 3. Access nodes. Their house, the one I wired after my first raise, ran on systems I owned. Smart locks, thermostat, mesh Wi-Fi, camera feeds. All tied to my cloud accounts. That Sunday, while they were stuck in a terminal trying to rebook a hostel, I suspended the entire license cluster. Their door locks defaulted to manual. The heating system reset. Cameras blinked into darkness. I didn't shut it off out of spite. I shut it off because it wasn't mine to give anymore. Step 4. The real infrastructure, the money. The mortgage assistance? Disabled. I contacted the lender and formally withdrew as co-signer. That kicked off an automatic income reassessment. They would no longer qualify for the rate I negotiated. Their monthly payments would spike within 60 days. Utilities? I had quietly covered the electric and water bills through autopay for almost 2 years. Gone. The Amazon account that used to order gifts for each other while forgetting mine? Logged out on all devices. Streaming? Gone. The storage unit where they kept seasonal decor and my dad's so-called heirloom tools? Lease terminated. Items scheduled for donation if not retrieved by the end of the week. Step 5. The blind spot, the business. Their side hustle, family run, was built on a digital backend I created. Email domains, web hosting, cloud file sync. All under my LLC, extended to them as a goodwill courtesy. This time, I revoked their licenses and closed their workspace access. I added a final message to the dashboard. This system operated under a courtesy license maintained by Mason. As of today, it has been decommissioned. Please contact a licensed IT provider for future support. No threats. No drama. Just business. By Wednesday, the group chat was imploding. My sister, "Why can't I log into the hotel app?" My mom, "The Wi-Fi won't reconnect. Did you change something?" My dad, "Fix it." I didn't answer. Not even a period. Instead, I called a colleague who specialized in emergency business transitions. Told him to expect an incoming client. I gave them his full rate card. No favors. Step 6. Documentation. I exported all transaction records tied to family expenses over the last 3 years. Every overdraft I covered. Every meal I footed. Every Venmo with a heart emoji and no payback. Labeled. Categorized. Sent to my lawyer. He asked if I was preparing for a lawsuit. I said no. I was preparing for peace. Step 7. The fallout. Friday night, while they were supposedly in Florence trying to salvage a gelato tour, I received my first voicemail. Mom's voice, drenched in confusion and guilt. "This isn't like you, Mason. You're scaring us." She tried to sound concerned, but you could hear the real fear underneath, not of me, but of the silence. They didn't miss me. They missed what I provided. By Saturday, my dad cracked. Sent me a wall of text about throwing away the family. I read it twice. It was mostly projection. "We did everything for you. You used to be grateful. You're acting like a stranger." No mention of Italy. No mention of the charges on my card. No apology. Because for them, this wasn't betrayal. It was rebellion. I had stepped out of my assigned role. The benefactor. The quiet son. The fixer. Now I was a variable. A wild card. A system they couldn't control. And that terrified them more than any lost trip or frozen subscription. Because now they had to face the truth. The house they lived in, emotionally, financially, technologically, was one I built. Brick by brick. Login by login. Dollar by dollar. And they had been trespassing for years. So I locked the doors. Digitally. Emotionally. Legally. And walked away. They didn't message me at first. They messaged each other. The group chat, dead for days, erupted like a cracked dam. My sister sent the first one. "Who changed the camera login?" Then, "Is this some joke?" 10 minutes later, my mom, "We can't access the banking portal." "Mason, did you do something?" Then my dad chimed in, "This is childish. Grow up." I didn't reply. So they escalated. That's what happens when you break their pattern. They think silence is a challenge. A test. Something to be fixed. They don't understand that silence, real silence, is not the start of a negotiation. It's the end of tolerance. They didn't want to talk. They wanted control back. It started with a missed call from an unknown number. Then another. Then a voicemail. My mom's voice, breathless, like she'd been crying for show. "Mason, we just want to understand. This isn't you." Then my sister tried her version. Sarcasm and cruelty wrapped in emoji. "Wow, you really need a hobby. Maybe therapy? Or a friend." Still, I said nothing. Because I knew what came next. And I was right. 3 nights later, the messages changed tone. "My dad, you're ruining the family." "My sister, we're literally stuck in a foreign country because of you." Then came the hammer. At 3:14 a.m., a group message from my mom, typed like a formal announcement. "Mason has decided he's no longer part of this family. Do not contact him. He's not himself. Something's wrong. Dangerous." The word made me laugh. Out loud. That was the move? Brand me unstable? Tell the extended family I was spiraling? I knew it before I checked, but still, I opened Facebook. Sure enough, she'd posted a vague status. "Some people turn on you once they get a little money." Sad how money changes hearts. The comments rolled in. Supportive ones. Sympathetic ones. Fake concerned ones. "You've always been the strong one. And your kids are lucky to have you. You deserve peace." My sister shared it within minutes. Added a comment. "We're fine. Family always sticks together, even when some forget what that word means." And there it was. The public narrative. I was out. They were in. And they were doing damage control. But they didn't realize something. The version of me they were trying to assassinate? That version no longer existed. I didn't play defense anymore. So I went quiet, not passive quiet, but surgical quiet. I sent no response. I posted no clarifications. Instead, I archived everything. Screenshots of texts, audio from voicemails, timestamps on calls. Then I looped in my lawyer. Told him we might be heading for defamation territory. He didn't flinch. But they did. Because when silence doesn't work, and shaming doesn't work, desperate people always resort to the same thing. Threat. I got the first one the next evening. A voicemail from my dad. Slurred, probably wine, maybe bourbon. "We know what you're doing, Mason. We can play this game too. You think you're untouchable? You're not." Then a text from my aunt, who hadn't said a word in months. "This is all getting out of hand. If you don't stop, you'll regret it." That part almost made me smile. Because I wasn't doing anything, not really. I wasn't publishing posts or calling cousins or dragging them through the mud. I wasn't fighting. I was absent. And they couldn't handle that. Because absence, to people who rely on you as infrastructure, feels like collapse. And they were collapsing. Hard. By the end of the week, I heard through a mutual cousin that my mom had shown up to her hair appointment in tears, telling the stylist that her ungrateful son had stolen from them and left them stranded. She'd even claimed I'd been mentally off since the accident. That one cut, not because it hurt, but because it was predictable. Discredit. Dismiss. Distance. They'd rather paint me as unstable than face the fact that I had simply stopped giving. But the tipping point came Sunday. I was out for a walk, headphones in, when a car pulled into my driveway back home. Security system caught it. My parents' SUV. They didn't knock. They didn't ring. They posted an envelope through the slot and left. Inside, a handwritten note. From my dad. You think this makes you strong. But in the end, you'll realize you still need us. And when you do, don't expect a welcome. Below that, a printed screenshot of a transfer receipt from 3 years ago when I'd sent them $15,000 after the furnace broke down. It had one line highlighted. We never asked for it. That was supposed to prove something. That I'd given without request, and therefore it didn't count. That I had no right to take offense. And that's when I realized, this wasn't just deflection. This wasn't a disagreement. It was quiet erosion, the kind that hollows out trust without anyone noticing. The kind where they try to poison the well you once drank from, just to keep others from sipping it after you're gone. So I made a decision. No more defense. No more reaction. From now on, I would only operate in facts. Receipts. Screenshots. Logs. Because they had tried to bury me in a narrative. And I was going to show them I kept the data. They wanted silence. Or better, shame. Instead, I gave them clarity. It started with a single Dropbox folder. Named plainly, Family Ledger. I didn't send it to everyone, just the right ones. A few cousins. My grandfather's nurse. One ex-family friend who still followed me online and had been liking my mom's passive-aggressive posts. Inside, evidence. Bank statements with highlighted charges. My card. Their vacations. Screenshots of messages. Can you just cover this and we'll settle later? Later never came. PDFs of receipts from the Italy bookings. Names attached. Dates. Flight numbers. Hotels. All billed to me. All before the surprise breakfast announcement. Voice memos. One where my dad joked about getting another free trip out of Mason. Another, from Christmas Eve, my sister telling my mom, he's too soft to say no. He'll pay. He always does. I didn't caption anything. Didn't editorialize. Just titled each file by what it was. Florence Hotel.pdf, Christmasshare.mp3, mortgagefreeze.jpg. Then I added one final note. This isn't revenge. This is balance. You told your story. I just shared mine with footnotes. The ripple was instant. By noon the next day, I got a text from my cousin Jenna. Holy shit. I had no idea. They said you snapped. Then another from Uncle Lee. Your mom's deleting posts. She's panicking. I didn't respond. I just watched. Facebook? Silent. Instagram? Comments turned off. Family group chat? Dead. Then my lawyer called. Apparently, someone had reached out to him anonymously, said they were concerned I was being slandered in community spaces. He asked if I wanted to escalate. I said, no. Let them talk. I've got the transcript now. Because the power shift had already happened. They just hadn't felt the full gravity. That night, I opened my phone to a barrage of new messages. From my mom, this isn't fair. You're airing dirty laundry. From my dad, you don't understand what you've done. From my sister, you always had a victim complex. Congrats on the pity tour. But none of them said I lied. Not one. Because they knew. And now everyone else did too. And the part that broke them wasn't the documents. It wasn't the proof. It was the fact that I didn't even raise my voice. I just raised the mirror. And they hated the reflection. The next morning, I sent one final message to the family group chat. Just 5 words. I am no longer available. Then I left the chat. Blocked their numbers. Archived the folder. Not deleted, just filed. Because you never erase evidence. You let it rest. In case the lies ever try to resurrect themselves. And now, when people whisper behind closed doors, I don't worry. Let them. I've got the receipts. They showed up unannounced. Middle of a Tuesday. No warning. No message. Just 3 figures on my porch. My mom, my dad, and my sister, standing like actors in a failed intervention. Like the problem wasn't what they did, but how I reacted. They looked different now. Not broken. Not even humble. Just cornered. Maya opened the door. She didn't invite them in. She turned to me and said, "It's your call." I didn't move at first. Just sat at the kitchen table. The same one where I drafted the file folder. The same one where I finally chose silence over service. Then I stood up. I walked to the door and stepped outside. Didn't cross the threshold. Just leaned on the frame, arms folded, waiting. My mom spoke first. Of course she did. Her voice cracked on cue. "We didn't come to fight." I didn't reply. She tried again. "We've been thinking about everything, and we want to make it right." My dad shifted beside her. Silent. Stiff. Like a man being held at gunpoint by shame. Then my sister, "We miss you." Those 3 words should have felt like warmth. But all I heard was calculation. Because this wasn't regret. This was desperation. They tried everything: guilt, threats, silence, slander, and none of it worked. Now they were trying humility. But even that was a costume. The stitching showed. So I said it. Plain. Cold. "You don't miss me. You miss what I gave you." Silence. Then my mom started to cry. Quiet, performative tears. Her voice wavered. We didn't realize how far things had gone. I looked her straight in the eyes and asked, "How far did they have to go for you to see me?" My dad tried to deflect. "Look, you made your point. We get it. But this family needs to heal." I almost laughed. Heal? From what? Accountability? They weren't healing. They were hemorrhaging control. So I stepped out fully now. Stood on the porch, feet planted. And I said the line that ended it. I didn't walk away because of Italy. Or the wedding. Or Christmas. I walked away because you made it clear, over and over, that I only mattered when I was useful. And I'm not interested in being useful to people who don't see me. My sister opened her mouth to speak. I raised a hand. "No. You don't get a rebuttal. This isn't a courtroom. This is a verdict." They looked stunned. Like they truly thought showing up would reverse everything. But I wasn't there for theatrics. So I finished it. You didn't lose a card. Or a company. Or a safety net. You lost a son. A brother. And not because I hate you. Because I finally loved myself enough to leave. They didn't reply. Not right away. Eventually my mom whispered, "But what are we supposed to do now?" And that was the moment I realized they still didn't get it. They thought this was about consequence. It wasn't. It was about clarity. So I gave her one final truth. You rebuild. Or you don't. But not on my back. Then I turned. Walked back inside. Didn't slam the door. Didn't look back. Just left them on the porch in the silence they'd earned. They stayed 5 minutes longer, hoping I'd come back. I didn't. They finally left. That was 3 months ago. They haven't tried again since. And that, more than anything, tells me this wasn't reconciliation. It was negotiation. They came to bargain. And I don't deal in debt anymore.